الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Do we need this? Do we need this? You can all hear me, can't you? You actually might need it. I'm falling asleep already. You guys are live. You guys are like bouncing off the walls and everything. SubhanAllah. Right. The topic today, Brother Abdullah gave me a very strict criterion for today's topic. He gave me a brief. He said, I want it like this, but I completely changed it. He says to me, we need something talking about the ill effects of sins, basically. Why are people falling into sin? What's happening as a consequence? And da 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 da. I thought, you see, the thing is, I started practicing similar to the age group of most of the people here. Now, I don't want to talk about what we've made tawbah for, but I kept slipping and I kept going back, even though I know I wanted to be practicing, but it kept calling me and I kept slipping. Wallahi al-Azim, after the favour of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the book of Allah really as well, this book, it changed my life. And it's not even an understatement. This book changed my life. I started reading this book. You know, this isn't actually the book, actually. This is a newer version. The one that I had terrible English in it, and the translation was all over the place. But, alhamdulillah, we've got an updated version. Dunya dhillun za'il. And that's how it's been translated here. Life is a fading shadow. Based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the example of me is like a person, كالراكب استظل في تحت الشجرة ثم تركها. He stayed under a tree, took some shade, and left it. So when Abdullah is saying here, we need something about sins, we need something about the consequences of sins, you know, really the topic here really should be about what is the dunya. People only ever fall into sins because of their enchantment and how they've been mesmerized with the life of this dunya. And then when we can understand that, then we can start having a discussion about what's happening with sins and all of that other stuff. But like I said, for me, I kept falling into sins. I kept falling back into the things that I shouldn't be falling into. And through the fadl of Allah, I don't know how I came across this book, this author, etc. And like I said, it had a huge impact on me. The person that wrote this book, he is a Shaykh who's passed away, Abdul-Malik, al-Qasim. I'm sure you've heard of the surname before, a very well-known family, known for knowledge. Until today, you've got scholars, Abdul-Aziz al-Qasim, Abdul-Muhsin al-Qasim, Imam al-Haram. So he comes from a very notable family. This Shaykh here has combined for us, or compiled for us, one of the biggest things that I really appreciate now, looking back at it. This book here, it is upon the methodology of Salaf al-Salih. Ayah after ayah, hadith after hadith, statement from the Salaf, statement after Salaf. Now this is really good because the kitab of Allah is profound. In a short ayah, you would get a very precise, comprehensive, sometimes abrupt message that shakes you. And likewise, the wisest of them all from the creation is the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. خير الحديث خير الحديث هدي Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the ulama, the salaf, they are the golden generation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed a great deal of khair and the advice that they've left for us to follow. And this is what he has combined for us, compiled for us in this book. So what I'm trying to do, inshallah, in the moments that we have together, it's not possible for us to read through the whole book. This version here is roughly around 80-something pages. But we're going to go through some of the pieces of advice, inshallah, that he has. So he starts off by talking about the reality of the life of this dunya. number of ayat. One ayah that he repeats a lot in the book, Surah Taha, chapter number 20, ayah number 131. وَلَا تَمُدُّنَّ عَيْنَيْكَ إِلَى مَا مَتَّعْنَا بِهِ أَزْوَاجًا مِّنْهُمْ زَهْرَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا لِنَفْتِنَهُمْ فِيهِ. Do not strain your eyes in longing for things we have given to these people for enjoyment, the splendor of the life of this world, so that we may test them by it. The life of this dunya is a test. The life of the akhira is a reward. But we have to understand that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this religion, encourages using the life of this dunya for what it is. Don't fall into the trap for what it is not. So from the beginning, and even in the end, I mean, if you were to read this book, wallahi, I feel some people might even get depressed. I'm not even joking. It's not even a joke, because of the fact that there's so many points in here you think, wow, that's it. It's like, why am I here? So it's really good that he starts off and he ends by saying, listen, the life of this dunya is meant to be a test. The life of this dunya, things are going to be rough. The encouragement here of the religion is to use the life of this dunya for what it is for. If you do that, then you'll have a good life, despite the fact it won't be everything that it is that you want, because that's only reserved for the believers in the akhira. He brings a hadith. This has been narrated by or reported by al-Hakim, Mustadrak has made Hasan by Shaykh Abdul-Malik. He says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, اقتربت الساعة. The hour has drawn near. He said this when? At least 1444 years ago. The hour is near. Did he lie? Is it possible for him to lie? وَلَا يَزْدَادُ النَّاسِ عَلَى الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا حِرْصًا. Yet people are ever becoming more eager for the life of this dunya. وَلَا يَزْدَادُونَ مِنَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا بُعْدًا. And people are drawing themselves ever away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the hour gets closer. Closer to dunya, further away from Allah, when the reality should be the opposite. But like we were saying, this is just the introduction. The purpose is not for us to despair. It is not for the purpose for us to completely abandon the life of this dunya. But the purpose of this session here, the purpose of this book, is for us to understand the purpose of the dunya. What is it there for? Yahya ibn Mu'adh, like I said, statement after statement. And there's loads. Yahya ibn Mu'adh, one of the ulama of the Salaf, he says, I do not order you to abandon the life of this dunya, but I order you to abandon sin. Disinterest in this life is a virtue, but abandoning sin is a religious obligation. If you're able to completely detach yourself from any kind of pleasure in the life of this dunya and have it reserved for the akhira, then that's perfect. That's what they were upon. But it's hard. So I don't want that for you. So Yahya ibn Mu'adh. But at least understand, stay away from haram. At least understand, do not be tricked from life of this dunya. Surely you are in more need of establishing obligations than collecting virtues and minor good deeds. Meaning, understand the reality. The author then says, rahimahullah, no doubt, those who obey Allah, fulfill His orders, enjoy a great deal of goodness in this life. For these people, the life of this dunya is not possessions. Rather, they are blessed in it. So this is an introduction which is really important. But then he gets very serious. Here we have a statement from Abdul Haq al-Ishbili, one of the ulama of the 6th century from Spain, Andalus. He says, O mankind, be aware that the arrows of death have already been targeted towards you. So be aware of them. Yet, here you are erecting the bows of prolonged hopes before you. So beware of them as well. The lures and the tests of life are surrounding you from every direction. So erect a barrier between you and them. Do not be deceived by your current easy life, for it is bound to vanish. Its dwelling will end in departure, and its string is bound to be pulled back and become short. The arrows of death have already been pointed towards you. Hence Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah has a statement here. Again, there are many statements that I'm going over. Stay away from busying yourself from aspects of the life of this dunya. Surely, life has abundant busying aspects. Every man who indulges in an aspect of the life of this dunya will have his time filled. Then that door will open up more doors where he will find himself busying himself for the life of this dunya. What have we learnt so far? We have learnt so far that there is a warning from the ulama of not understanding the dunya for what it actually should be for. Despite the fact that death is already looking at you. But what we are doing is we are extending our hopes way into the future. And with that, you're being drawn in with the lures and the tests and the attractions and the desires without forgetting that this arrow is pointing at your head. The author then says, now look at how meaningless the life of this dunya actually is. The life of this dunya is short, and the most rich of it, the wealthiest from them, are still poor. Death is about to strike you and bring the smell of wind of estrangement, completely forgotten, as if you didn't even exist. People will talk about you for how long after you gone? Remember there was a guy once in the masjid, he used to come. Even before you depart this life, make known to you your imminent orphaning of your offspring. Therefore wake up from your sleep of heedlessness and thoughtlessness, and remove love of this life from your heart. This is actually a statement from Ibn Jawzi, rahimahullah. Surely when the slave closes his eyes and perishes, he will wish that he was given respite, but his request will be denied. Then the author says, as a commentary on this, any day, this life will come to an end and the hereafter will commence. Any day. Now don't think that, okay, well the hereafter is far away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الطَّامَّةُ الْكُبْرَى, when the greatest calamity will occur. According to some of the ulama of tafsir, the greatest calamity is the day of judgment. So if there is a Yawm al-Qiyamah al-Kubra, that then means there is a Yawm al-Qiyamah al-Sugra. Every single one of us is going to have a Yawm al-Qiyamah before Yawm al-Qiyamah. Therefore, any day, this life will come to an end and the hereafter will commence, meaning your personal hereafter. And what seemed far away will suddenly become near. What you used to see as the past will be in your eyes and will remain with you alive even after you have gone. Meaning what you have done will be there, be stuck. You might die all of a sudden, or after an illness, you will then be carried away to your grave. Whatever the case, you're going to be carried away to your grave. And these are constant reminders and types of death that will strike and has stricken people all around you. In this context, we understand the wisdom of Fudail ibn Iyad. Again, like I said, statement after statement. He said, rahimahullah, one ulama al-Salaf, he said, entering the life of this dunya is easy. You push through, you are held, you are suckled, you are fed. Everything is done for you, but departing from it is very hard. So then the author says, now this is actually a statement taken from Ibn al-Qayyim al-Fawaid. Dear Muslims, if people are satisfied with the riches of this dunya, then be truly rich by relying on Allah. If people feel delight in the aspects of the life of this dunya, then be delighted by being close to Allah. See now purpose here. You use the dunya for purpose. If they feel that they have the company of their loved ones, then make Allah your company. If they welcome and seek closeness to their leaders and their chiefs, then know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate might and His status is elevated. In this statement of Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, there is nothing from the life of this dunya that can offer except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a high example from it. The author then says, rahimahullah, in alluding to the life of this dunya and the life of the akhira, this dunya has slaves, this dunya has children, and the akhira has children. So what he is saying here, let the children of the dunya compete, and the children of the akhirah should not be concerned by them. Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad said about the believer, description of us inshaAllah. In this life, the believer feels sadness and grief. Why is he sad and grief? Because he is grieving because of the fact that he sees himself in a jail. Similar to the actual topic here that we've got really. Every single one of us have a weakness. There is no doubt about that. Multiple weaknesses probably. Fudayl is saying here, in describing you and your weakness, that is a cause of your sadness and grief. Because you want to obey Allah, and you want to stay away from haram, because He has told you to stay away from that haram. And that's causing difficulty for you. But he goes on to say, he who feels like this in the life of this dunya, then his efforts will be directed at collecting what benefits are there for him when he returns home. What does that mean? A life of dunya is not home. Your return is where you originated from. He does not compete with the residents of this area where he lives. Let them carry on competing with one another. Amongst them, he remains as a stranger. He lives amongst their midst, but he doesn't grieve with the way that they grieve, meaning they have lost the life of this dunya and they have lost the akhira. So it makes them weep. It makes them feel sad. It gets them depressed to the point of suicide. Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah, he said, beware of Allah's anger with regard to three. Beware of Allah's anger with regards to three. Beware that you fall into shortcomings concerning what He has commanded you. The people of the dunya are not bothered about that. Beware that He sees you whilst you are feeling discontent concerning the provisions that He has granted you. The people of the dunya are constantly worried about that. And beware of feeling dismay at your Lord if you seek a procession of His life but cannot acquire it. Meaning, be content with the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace it with something better. As for the children of the dunya, every single one of them, they've got a 0. Completely failed the test. Wajibat, not concerned. Rizq, they are seeking it as if they are supposed to stay here forever. And as for the qadr of Allah, they have no concern for that. They feel that they can create their own destiny. As for the people of the akhirah, it is different. As Sufyan has said here, rahimahullah. Then the author says, if you witness what people do in their life at present times. Now he's saying this, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years ago, before social media, before the way that we see technology. He says, if you look at people in their life in this dunya, you'd be amazed. They are active and they are energetic in giving and taking for the sake of this life. If one of them wanted to buy something which is insignificant, he might spend hours and hours in preparation of purchase. Yet when it comes to the life of the akhirah, when it comes to his obligations, when it comes to iman, this person has no concern for it whatsoever. In actual fact, it might make him feel anxious. in actual fact, it might make him feel as if he is not benefiting anything. Therefore, what he does then is he spends his days taking, playing, joking, acting as if the days of this dunya will come back to him over and over again. Yahya ibn Mu'adh, one of the ulama of the Salaf, he said, rahimahullah, O son of Adam, you seek the life of this dunya like he who cannot do without it. Now look at this is really profound. He says, you seek the life of this dunya like he who cannot do without it, but seek the hereafter as if you don't need it. You live in this dunya as if you want to cling on to it. As for the akhira, we're not really that concerned about it. However, we can see now, he now refutes this point. He shows you how weak these people are. He says, the life of this dunya, you know for a fact that every single one of your rizq, every single atom of your rizq has been written and will be given to you before you leave it. Yet we run after the dunya as if that isn't the case. As for the akhirah, what do you know about your rizq in the akhirah? Has it been guaranteed for you? Do you know what your rizq is when you go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Therefore he is saying here, look how we've turned it upside down. You live in this dunya. You're not going to leave this dunya until you've got every single penny, every single morsel, every single sip, every single garment, whatever it is that you have any kind of connection. You are not going to leave until what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for you to take from it. Yet, we chase the dunya as if we cannot do without it. This was Yahya ibn Mu'adh what he is saying, rahimahullah. As for the akhirah, nothing's been guaranteed. You don't know where you're going to go back to. Yet, when it comes to the akhirah, there is no concern. When it comes to the akhirah, it is as if things are already guaranteed. Then the author says, rahimahullah, this is why it is amazing that a slave of Allah would believe in the hereafter, yet work hard for the life of this dunya. Those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, He will protect them from being infatuated from the life of this dunya. Then he quotes a hadith which has been narrated by Bayhaqi, Shuhb al-Iman. But I mean, there's some weakness in this narration, but the meaning is definitely correct. Inna Allah lam yakhluq khalqan abghad ilayhi min ad-dunya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not created a creation which is less preferred to Him than the life of this dunya. وَإِنَّهُ مُنذُ خَلَقَهَا لَمْ يَنْظُرْ إِلَيْهَا. From the moment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the life of this dunya, He has never looked at it as if it means anything of significance with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. From the moment that He created it, He has not looked at this dunya as if it is anything which is special. Then the author, rahimahullah, I mean, there's a number of points here that I've not gone over. Like I said, I've gone from page 30 to somewhere around 60. But I don't want to make this lengthy for you, brothers, but I think you get the idea. And like I said, this is definitely a read for every single one of us to benefit from. The author then, like I said, is trying to create a balance. You've heard what you have heard, and when he's talking about the life of this dunya. But the balance is that there has to be a solution. We're here now, so what we're going to do about it? He says here, subtitle, the determination of the believer. He says, the believer dedicates his attention to the akhirah. And anything that he faces in the life of this dunya reminds him of the akhirah. Surely one will dedicate his attention to whatever busying affairs one engages in. Meaning, if you are giving importance to the life of this dunya, then you will engage in that. But if you busy yourself with the akhirah, then you will engage in that. Now this statement actually kind of summarizes the whole book. al-Qurasani, rahimahullah, he says, I do not recommend for you to take care of the life of this dunya. For surely you indeed take care of the life of this dunya with a great deal of eagerness and protectiveness. Meaning, don't be tricked by the life of this dunya. I recommend that you take care of your hereafter. So take provisions from the perishable life for an eternal life. You know for a fact that this dunya is going to finish. And you know for a fact that the hereafter is permanent. Consider yourselves having departed from this life already. Where would you be? What would you do? Here we have another statement underneath it. Now this is actually showing you something. This is giving you an understanding of how the Salaf were. I'm going to just skip to that statement. Ibrahim at-Taymi, rahimahullah, he said, in my heart, I imagine myself in Jannah, eating from its fruits, drinking from its water, embracing its women. But then I imagine myself in the hellfire, eating from zaqqum. Inna shajarata zaqqum ta'amul athim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives it as a description, كَأَنَّهُمْ رُؤُسُ الشَّيَاطِينَ. The people of the hellfire will be eating fruits from a tree which is called zaqqum. When they eat it, it's a punishment. The fruits look like the head of a shaitan, and they will be forced to eat it. Ibrahim at-Taymi, he said, I saw myself in Jannah, and how I so badly wanted to be in Jannah. Then I saw myself in the fire, eating from zaqqum. The people of the hellfire, what will they drink? They will drink boiling hot water, and to them there will be served the pus and the sweat of the inhabitants of the hellfire as well. And I saw myself being chained, in chains and fetters. Some of the ulama from the Salaf have mentioned that these chains and fetters will be so severe, سَبْعُونَ ذِرَاءً فَاسْلُكُوا, there will be 70 around, one human being, 70 chains. His hands are tied to the point that his neck cannot move, to the point that some of them have said that there will be a chain that will be inserted into your mouth and it will come out the rear end. This is the state of the people of the fire. Ibrahim Taymi then he says, rahimahullah, so I asked myself, what do you want for yourself? My ruh, myself, my nafs said, I wanted to be returned to the life of this world so I can perform good deeds. So I said to myself, you are still here, work for what is that you wish. These people are talking to themselves. The Salaf, they're talking to themselves. They're saying to themselves, well, where do you want to go? Going back to Ata rahimahullah, he says, consider yourself already there, just like what Ibrahim Taymi did. And by Allah, you will surely taste it. What Ibrahim Taymi has said. Consider that you've already arrived at the akhira. And by Allah, surely you will arrive. The life of this dunya, if you use it for what it's supposed to be used for, if you understand what its actual status is for, then in actual fact you will find enjoyment in the life of this dunya. I know it's a bit cliche that we've mentioned that and a bit contradictory considering the things that we've been saying here. But the author now is bringing statements from the Salaf in where they are talking about the life of this dunya and they are actually enjoying the life of this despite being in the prison. Abu Dawood al-Sijistani, rahimahullah, the author of the Sunan, he describes his Shaykh Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah. He said, I never heard Ahmad ibn Hanbal mentioning matters of the life of this dunya. He just wasn't concerned about it. That basically means he's already there. He's understanding what the life of this dunya is. Whatever it gives, whatever it takes, doesn't really matter. Dawood al-Ta'i, one of the ulama of the Salaf, he heard from his teacher Hamad, rahimahullah, he said, O Abu Sulaiman, he's talking to Dawood, you are content with the little provisions that you have. That's all you've got. So Dawood al-Ta'i responds and he says, shall I tell you about he who accepts less than I accepted for myself? The person who has accepted the life of this dunya in replacement for the akhirah. What does that mean? Dawood al-Ta'i is basically saying here, I don't have much from the life of this dunya. So the other person says to him, is this how you're living? I mean, come on, you need to sort yourself out a little bit. He says to him in response, for me, this is the meaning of dunya sijnul mu'min jannatul kafir. The life of this dunya is a prison for the believer and a jannah for the kafir. The meaning of this hadith has been mentioned by Ibn Hajar, as you can see here from this statement also. However, how hard you find the life of this dunya, that is your prison. Compared to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will exchange it for you in the akhirah. However, how hard it will be for the people in the akhirah, right now they're in a jannah. So the kuffar, who are going to be in the hellfire in the way that we've seen the description, you can see in the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, these people are in a jannah right now, despite the fact there are so many limitations in the life of this dunya. It's not really all that, think about it. But they're already in their jannah. What he is saying here, Dawud, he goes, I haven't got much from the life of this dunya. However, my zuhd here is going to be repaid over there. These people's zuhd is worse. Because what they're doing is they're accumulating the life of this dunya for what in return? Having bare minimum in the life of this dunya in exchange for what you can have for eternity in the akhirah, that's worth it. That's a deal. For me, that is worth it. That's what he's saying here. But for these people, they accept the life of this dunya instead of the akhirah. They've got the rough end of the stick for themselves. Dawood al-Ta'i again, rahimahullah, this has been quoted by Ibn Jawzi in Sifat al-Sahwa. He said, consider the life of this dunya like a day in which you are fasting. And when you break your fast, that is the moment that you die. What does that mean? What these athar mean is that the Salaf were content with the life of the akhirah, and they were content with having very little from the life of this dunya. They knew that it was passing. They knew that it had limitations. They knew that it was temporary. They knew that you could be taken away from it at any second. Therefore, use the life of this dunya for what it is. Use it to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Use it to stay away from what is haram. Use it to prepare for yourself an akhirah. If that becomes your mindset, you will see from these narrations here from the Salaf, they were actually living a very nice life, despite having little from the life of this dunya. Why? They understood it. They got it. If you don't get it, you're going to be stressed. If you don't get it, there's going to be anxieties. If you don't get it, you're not going to be satisfied. So the author ends, and this is how we will end here as well. He says, we ask Allah to let our path in the life of this dunya end in the garden of Aden. We beg Him to make us amongst those who will take sufficient provisions for the life of this dunya, for the dwelling of the akhirah and its delights and its constant shade. We ask Allah to make us and our parents and our relatives in the grade encompassed by His mercy subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who have no fear, nor shall they grieve. And then he ends with this ayah, وَاضْرِبْ لَهُمْ مَثَلَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا كَمَاءٍ. Surah Kahf, chapter number 18, ayah number 45, 46. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying here, give them an example of the life of this dunya like water. أَنزَلْنَاهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ فَاخْتَلَطَ بِهِ نَبَاتُ الْأَرْضِ. It comes down and it mixes up with the earth. It brings about vegetation. How long is that there for? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَصْبَحَ. Fa of ta'qib. This fa means literally the next moment. Blink, you'll miss it. فَأَصْبَحَ شِيمًا تَذْرُوهُ الرِّيَاحُ. It becomes dry, it becomes dry, it shrivels away, and the wind carries it off. That is the example that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us of the life of this dunya. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Al-malu wal-banun, zinatul hayatid dunya. Now here, this is the life of the dunya. It has some good things in it. It's got wealth, it's got the opposite gender, they will give you children, and this will adorn for you the life of this dunya. But don't stop there. If you stop there, then there's going to be problems. You will not be happy, because you have not understood what the life of the dunya is. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْبَاقِيَاتُ الصَّالِحَاتُ خَيْرٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ ثَوَابًا وَخَيْرٌ أَمَلًا. But good deeds, now here good deeds here refers to all kinds of good deeds. This is the point that we're making here. Doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you to do, staying away from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told you to stay away from, this is better with your Lord, عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ. He didn't say ma'a rabbik. There's a difference between ind and ma'a. What's the difference between ind and ma'a? Yeah? It's the same thing. Ind and ma'a means like with. But there's one that has more emphasis, Shaykh. It's more closer. It's more specific. Inda rabbik, this reward will be from your Lord directly. وَخَيْرٌ أَمَلًا, and it is better in respect for what you hope in, what you want to have fulfilled for yourself, and what you want to attain of bliss and happiness. This is what we have read. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for any shortcomings in this topic, because I don't feel that we've given it justice. But like I said, this is something that I feel that everybody can get their hands on. It's only a few pounds, and it is extremely beneficial. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us of the people who work for the akhira, understand the life of this dunya, and that He makes us firm upon la ilaha illallah until we meet Him. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on the Shaykh for producing such a valuable and beneficial book, which is something which is beneficial for the ummah. هذا والله أعلم وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وفيكم. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to sleep now. You guys come and stay up here.